Welcome to this video session of the installation of the prerequisite software for the Microsoft Forefront Identity Manager 2010. So in the first video, we looked at the installation of a SQL Server 2008 R2 for the FIM 2010. So in the second video, we are discussing about the prerequisite software before we install the Forefront Identity Manager. If for any kind of training requirements, so you can reach us on training@acutelearn.com. So we'll look at the installation of 2010 prerequisite software. So there are two servers which we are using in this lab. So one for the FIM portal, FIM synchronization service, the Sharepoint services, and the service manager console, and another server for the service manager data warehouse purpose. So on both these servers, we look at that what we need to configure, how we need to configure the SharePoint, how we need to install the service manager, and everything. Okay. So just log into this. So on both these servers, install the .NET Framework 3.5 and IIS. So we are using a FIM1. Go to the roles, add roles, click on next, select the application server, go to the next, select web services IIS support, click on add required roles, click on next, select IIS6 management capabilities, so click on install. So let me go to the second server. So we are going to use this server for the service manager data warehouse. So once we install this particular one, so let's install the Exchange 2010 Service Pack 1. This is an optional component, but in the longer run, if you want to create the mailboxes using the FIM, then we need this particular management console on the FIM synchronization service 1. So install only the management tools. select only the management tools. So click on install. So just close. So let's install the SharePoint. So on the first server. So we don't need a SharePoint on the second server. So we need a SharePoint foundation only in the first server. So I'm logging into the FIM portal where I'm going to install the FIM portal. So you need to install the SharePoint foundation on the server where you want to deploy the FIM portal. So install software prerequisites. So now the installation of SharePoint prerequisites is completed. So now click on install SharePoint foundation. So select the standalone. It'll restart the services. So the SharePoint installation is completed successfully. So the next component which is required for FIM is this System Center Service Manager. So there are two components in the System Center Service Manager. So one is System Center Service Manager and the System Center Service Manager Data Warehouse. So on the second server, we are going to install the Data Warehouse. On the first server, we have to install Service Manager. The Service Manager and the Service Manager Data Warehouse cannot be installed on the same server. Just verify that SharePoint is working fine or not. So you will get a home page. So let's start the installation of the System Center Service Manager. Setup. Let me go to the second server. Let me launch the second server. So we get called as a System Center Service Manager 2010 SP1. So install a Service Manager management server. So the management server and the Data Warehouse management server cannot be on the same server. So on the first server, I'm deploying the management server. So select Installation Evaluation Copy and select the licensing agreement. Click on Next. The installation path. So click on Service Manager Data Warehouse Management Server on the second server. Select this one. So it's going to tell you card report viewer is not available. Click on Install. Yeah, this is all done. Click on Next. So it is going to ask you the database name. Specify the database server. So in our case, the ALVFIMDB is the database server name. Press tab. It is going to verify whether it can connect. Click on. So create a new database. So it's going to create a new database called as a Service Manager on this particular database server under this particular instance. So if you have a multiple instance, it is going to display you multiple instance. So you need to select on which instance you want to create it. So the management group name for the Service Manager, I'm giving AL_SCSM, and the Service Manager Administrators group, I'm just giving code as a domain. Admins can manage this particular Service Manager. So the user account to run on which the management services has to run. So I'm just giving the domain administrator. and you can test the credentials. Just click on install. It is going to install this. It takes 5 minutes. So on the second server where we're installing the Service Manager Data Warehouse component, so click on next. So it's going to ask you the database details. Specify the database name, database server name. So it's going to create a separate databases for the data warehouse purpose. So which will be used for reporting purpose. The FIM reporting needs this particular System Center Service Manager. So the Service Manager Data Warehouse group name and the administrators who are going to manage this particular one. I'm giving domain admins in my environment. So click on next. So it's going to ask you the reporting server. So we have installed the reporting server on the database server. So I'm just specifying the database server. So if you look at the earlier video, so where we have configured the SQL Server reporting services. So we need to specify that URL. So I'm just going to the first server. So we're still creating the database. Yeah, so it's going to validate that this is a web server is URL. So select I've taken the manual steps to configure the remotes. So we are going to configure manually that one in the FIM. So I'm just correcting. Next. Service Manager Services. Reporting account. So click on install. So on the first server we are installing this Service Manager Management Server. In the second server we are installing the Data Warehouse Management Server. So on the data warehouse server, the setup is completed. You can see that open the encryption backup key. So it is going to ask you for the folder where it can take the backup. Just specify that. In future, if required, you can just click automation. See data warehouse. The password for the restoration key. So once the completion of that, restart the server. Yeah. So the service manager management server is also completed. Just click on close. SE management server. So let's restart the server. So these two patches are related to the system center service manager. So you'll be able to see 115, 116. So in both the servers, we need to deploy those two patches. So let's install the second patch. So we have deployed both the patches on the second data warehouse server. So once you deploy that, make sure that the server is being started, System Center Management Server. So let's install the second batch. So the final step which we need to do is called as registering the data warehouse server with the service management server. So go to the programs, system center. So open the service manager console. So the last step which we need to do called is register service manager to the service manager data warehouse. So go to the first server on the first where we installed the managed service system center service manager management server. So open the console. So down we can see called as a register with the service manager data warehouse. So click on this. Go to the next. Specify the data warehouse server name. Click on next. It's going to create a group. Just create it. So these are all the list of activities which we need to perform before the installation of the Forefront Identity Manager 2010. So we'll look at in the next video how to install the Forefront Identity Manager FIM portal, the password registration portal, password reset portal, and the FIM reporting components.